This is the Sales Babble Podcast, episode 395, Networking in the 21st Century with LinkedIn, an interview with David J.P. Fisher.
Welcome to Sales Babble, the podcast that shares selling secrets for non-sellers. And now your host, Pat Helmers.
Hello, Sales Babblers. This is Pat Helmers, and I've been wondering if you're using social media to build your sales funnel. Is online networking a staple of your selling process? If not, you might want to read Dave Fisher's just published book, Networking in the 21st Century with LinkedIn. In this episode, we go live to visit Dave's book launching / anniversary party at Sketchbook Brewing. Dave shares insights in networking using LinkedIn while sharing a well-brewed Oktoberfest. But before we get to the interview, just a reminder that next week I'll be announcing great changes here at Sales Babble and Habanero Media. Stay tuned. You don't want to miss it. And so, with no further ado, let's get to it. Dave.
Nice.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
David J.P. Fisher, also known as D-Fish, speaker, author, coach, trainer extraordinaire, generally all-around cool guy. Just ask my mom.
Is she here today?
She's not. I should bring her along, though.
Indeed. So why are we here today? And maybe you could describe where we're at.
Yeah, so we are on the beautiful patio of Sketchbook Brewing in Skokie, Illinois. We are here for a combined 15-and-a-half-year birthday party for my company, Rockstar Consulting, and the release party for two new books of mine. They're updates of Networking in the 21st Century and Networking in the 21st Century on LinkedIn.
Did we really need another book on networking in the 21st century?
We did need updates because things have changed with the pandemic and how we engage and interact. And actually, I wrote the networking book, the first edition, about 8 years ago. And it's funny because in doing the update, I was like, hey, you should maybe think about using digital. It might help, like this LinkedIn thing. You should check it out. And obviously, that's a big part of how we engage these days. So yeah, we needed an update.
So how has LinkedIn changed, say, since the last... So when was the last version? When did the last version come out?
Yeah, so the last update of the LinkedIn book came out in 2019. And you know what? I think the big thing is that people looked at LinkedIn pre-pandemic as, maybe it's a nice thing, or, I'm not a marketing person or a techie person, I'm not going to use it. The pandemic basically did 10 years of digital transformation in 10 months. People had to be connecting digitally because they couldn't do anything else. So I think it's really opened up a lot of possibilities for people.
And a lot of people say this, but I think it's well worth repeating that I think it has fundamentally changed how we sell and how we do business development from the pandemic. People just aren't in offices like they used to be. Oh my, there goes the train.
This is happening live, baby. I think you're exactly right. One thing that I was talking about before the pandemic was a concept I call the sales Sherpa path, where you have to kind of position yourself as the resource, as the guide, so that when your buyer is ready, you're the trusted resource they go to. And that more than ever, I think, is important. And using digital, whether that's LinkedIn or other platforms, allows you to be positioned as that trusted guide, as that resource.
Now, to be totally honest, I've actually looked at your book. I've actually read a little bit of your book.
You got your name on the back cover, so I hope so.
Yeah, I think I wrote a little blurb for it.
Yeah.
And in reading the book, I saw that you have a lot of prescription and scripts of what people should do step by step, so they're not wandering in the desert trying to figure out what to do, correct?
Absolutely. And I think we all run by scripts, whether they're intentional or not. So I at least wanted to give readers some guidance. They can definitely take it and make it their own, put their own personality in there. I don't think we should be robots. But I have people come to me all the time, whether it's offline or online, and they're stuck trying to figure out what to say. So I at least wanted to be like, here's a start. Here's a start. Take it, change it, it's fine. But I found that it really gives people a lot more confidence and comfort in actually going out and talking to people.
Where do people struggle the most? Let me tell you where I'm thinking people struggle the most. And you can disagree with me. Picking the telephone up.
I think that is correct. However, I would also maybe extend that to kind of an updated version where it's putting themselves out there. So that might be picking up the phone. That might be posting something on LinkedIn, sharing a perspective, sharing an insight. I've seen everywhere from 1% to 3% as the number of people that post on LinkedIn. That is mind-bogglingly small and a huge opportunity for people to share that expertise and insight that they have. And I think the big thing that people have to learn how to do now is know what channel to use. Do I pick up the phone? Do I email? Do I use social media? And that's a skill I think we're going to have to figure out for the next decade or so.
Yeah. I think it's actually like a it's a multi-step process where you're hitting people from lots of different directions, be it email or the phone or LinkedIn, email. But it may very well be your ideal client's not on LinkedIn. They might be on Instagram, Facebook.
Absolutely. I say right now we live in a digital first, but not digital only world, right? So to your point about picking up the phone, I think the phone can be a great tool if you've already, maybe built some visibility with that prospect, or maybe you realize they're not on LinkedIn, or maybe you've had a little bit of interaction, but hey, you know what? I want to get some action now. Because a lot of people don't pick up the phone, but sometimes they do. So I think it's really a multi-channel approach that's so critical right now. It can't be just, I'm going to call, and it can't be, I'm just going to be on LinkedIn, or I'm just going to be an email. It really is, how do you put all those together?
Yeah. Now, you have a podcast, right?
I do.
I asked that question, although I really knew the answer, because I've been on the podcast. It comes out seasonally, correct?
Yeah, we have seasons, which is partly driven by the fact that I produce, edit, host, and do everything myself. But yeah, we're on season 7, and it's called Beer Beats in Business, and I've really loved it. We're actually almost on episode 100. So for me, that's a lot, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Now, has this season been different from past?
So season 7 was definitely a little bit different from the past because it was started during the pandemic. Season 6 was the one that I really loved because we were recording it in the midst of, February, March 2020, and just talking to people like, what the heck is going on? But the one thing I would say I learned from it both in 2020, 2021, there's still such an intense desire for connection, right? And that's why I even say, like in the books, it's whether we're online, whether we're offline, it's still, business hasn't changed because people haven't changed. We got to find a way to make a connection. We got to find a way to build a relationship. And when you do that, the business gets a lot easier.
That's the thing. It's all about not what you know, but who you know. And the wider your network is, the more likely you're going to bump into somebody who's a perfect fit for your products or services.
I couldn't agree more. And I would even extend it to say it's not just who you know, but it's who knows you, right? I got to give credit for my friend Andy Crestadina.
That's a good one.
But there is this piece of information is out there. Information is easily accessible. That's not what makes things happen these days. It is the relationship. It's being known and finding the opportunities and the connections that will actually create opportunities. And I think that the professionals that have done that in the past are going to be successful. But as we go into a increasingly technological and information saturated world, it's the relationship. It's, can I call Pat and say, we're a great example. I called you. I was like, hey, Pat, I'd really like to have you as a blurb contributor for my book. And you're like, yeah, sure, I'll make it happen. That's because we've known each other for a long time. And so that ask was easy, right?
Yeah, it was, and I was happy to do it. In fact, I think I did it pretty quick.
You did?
I didn't want to forget. We are at Sketchbook Brewing Company. I've actually had you on Sales Babble before.
Yeah.
At Sketchbook Brewing Company.
Yes!
But not here.
No, this is, we, oh my gosh, that takes me back. We met at Sketchbook Brewery in Evanston, which was their original, their flagship, and they've since expanded out here. They have both now, and by the way, if you're in the Chicagoland area, check them out. It's amazing beer and amazing people. To your point about relationships, I mean, I love supporting them because they have great beer, but I know that they're good people. I've got a chance to know the founders and owners, and, that goes a long way. So make those connections, right?
This is a great venue. I really like it. We're actually kind of in a beer garden. We're outside on the lawn underneath some trees next to the train, and that's
which my son loves. My son. I have a 2-year-old son, so I'm able to bring him here to the beer garden because Daddy gets beer, my son gets trains, and he's happy as I'll get out.
So, what are you drinking?
Oh, well, this is, we're going to go from an evergreen podcast to a seasonal one because I'm drinking the Oktoberfest. And it is fantastic. I've learned not only at Sketchbook, but just with the craft beer revival, I love seasonal beers because there's something to drinking something that you can't have all the time. There's an additional sweetness to the beer itself.
It's a Märzen.
Yeah, and it's delicious. It is delicious. It's almost empty. I'm probably gonna have to get a new one.
Well, I was just given a free ticket for a beer, so I need to go in there myself and go get one of those. Congratulations, Dave. This is really an achievement.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate your help in it, and yeah, we're 15 years and 12 books in. We'll see what the next 15 years brings. Probably not 12 books. I need to slow down a little.
As we mentioned, Dave asked me to write a blurb for him for the new book, and let me read it to you. This is what I said. Quote, LinkedIn is the premier 24/7 networking event of our times. And in this book, you're going to find the concrete guidance you need to master finding, connecting, and engaging with your ideal contacts. A must-read for business professionals right now. And that's from Pat Helmers, host of the Sales Babble podcast. These books are gold. When it comes to networking using LinkedIn, I highly recommend that you reach out and get a copy of this. I've got links to Dave and his book in the show notes at www.salesbabble.com. Please share this podcast with one friend, a colleague at work, somebody who's interested in selling and boosting their sales expertise. If you could do that, I'd really appreciate it. If you have a question or comment, go to the website at www.salesbabble.com, click the Babble Me button, and I'd be more than happy to answer any and all questions that you have. That's all we've got for this week. Don't forget the big announcement next week, next Tuesday. Until then, take care and have a highly profitable and a successful selling day.
Thank you for listening to the Sales Babble podcast. Find us at www.salesbabble.com.
This is a production of Habanero Media.